Every child deserves a champion. That's from the iconic TED Talk from Miss Rita Pearson, where she told us and emboldened us to, you know what? It's time to do something different. That talk received over 14 million views. And just 3 months later, Miss Pearson passed away. But her words, her legacy, it built light into classrooms everywhere. On day one of my teaching career, my principal, he played that video. And through my new teacher nerves, Miss Rita's voice broke through. You know, kids don't learn from people they don't like. And that day, I decided to be the teacher. I wanted to be that light for kids. So I got to work. I started building, making phone calls, staying late, just to make sure that all my kids knew that they mattered. But so, like thousands of champion teachers, I had to come back to that talk every August, almost like my little spiritual vitamin, because Miss Rita reminded me why I chose this work. We were more than teachers. We were dream defenders. So today, I'm not just here just to remember her legacy. I am here to challenge the future. What if the champion teachers aren't just walking away, not because they don't want to be around kids, but because they are tired of the cage? We're witnessing a great teacher migration, and not just between schools, but out of the industry entirely. In Fort Worth ISD, more than 20 schools have closed in just a few years. In the state of Texas, 13% of teachers are leaving every single year. And nationally, 55% of teachers said, I don't know if I want to stay in here forever. So it tells me that there needs to be something done about it. And before you say, teachers just don't want to work, let's remember what Auntie Rita said. We know why kids don't learn. It's poverty, low attendance, and negative peer influences. And I'd say it is a system collapsing under its own weight. WEIGHT. Teachers are not giving up on education. They're giving up on waiting. WAITNG. Waiting for class sizes to shrink, waiting for real funding, waiting for a system to stop treating our most vulnerable learners like afterthoughts. We know that if a kid is not reading by third grade, it either leads to dropout or incarceration. And yet in Texas, 1 in 5 black boys were not able to read on grade level between grades 3 through 8 in 2022. So this isn't about shame, it's about strategy. Because when black students thrive, everyone rises. We're talking about multilingual learners, neurodivergent, rural scholars, and brown kids too. But we can't keep waiting for a red pill to fix literacy. There's no shortcuts, just red flags. And every year we wait, we lock out opportunity for all of our children. Literacy isn't just a skill, it is liberation. So if the system won't deliver, great teachers must build it. And many already are. Let's talk about not giving up, but just stepping away. From kitchen tables to micro schools, there are resigning, but they are not necessarily taking away, but they are reimagining what a real solution can look like. Because the hope we once had in the system, we are putting it in our own hands. Let me talk to you a little bit. So here's what happens when teachers try to build inside the system. I co-founded a middle school called Ignite. Kids were really moving, and it wasn't built on standard, it was built on possibility. Our sixth graders were building gardens, they were organizing tournaments, and they even went to Rome. And guess what? Our babies rose to the challenge. Let me tell you about Madison, Denaya, and Jai. Students that we recruited from the housing community right across from the street. We didn't just teach them, we believed in them. And class of 2025 graduates, they were able to not only have 2 associate's degrees, but they also are enrolled in college in the fall. Now, I'm going to brag a little bit about Madison. She got full scholarships, top 10% of her class, and over $700,000 in offers. I know, my babies. But I asked them, how did you do it? And they kind of laughed, and it was like, you know what? After Ignite, high school felt like a breeze. Because at Ignite, we taught them who they were, how they were going to get there, and where they were going. And so here's the painful part, is because the kids were thriving, but the districts was only focused on test scores. And our school didn't fail, it just didn't fit the formula. So we were doing project-based learning. However, the district or the system was stuck in packet-based surviving. It was almost like trying to stream Spotify through a cassette player. Eventually, I had to face the truth. Maybe we were not meant to build something in the existing system. Maybe we were meant to build something new. So innovation in education isn't new. Sometimes the most powerful lessons comes from a history behind us. Dr. Corita Brown mentioned in The Battle for the Black Mind that Black education did not start in schools or classrooms. It started in resistance. In 1861, Mary Peake Kelsey mentioned and actually huddled around newly freed African Americans under the Emancipation Oak. No building, no budget, just boldness and vision. Then we go to decades later of Mary McLeod Bethune, where she started a school with $1.50 and a mission. Decades later, we know Lucy Craft Laney opened with just $10, focused on a girls, excellence, and a community. They didn't wait for grants. They didn't ask for permission. They built anyway. The spirit is still alive. Janelle Wood, she just didn't protest. She built a system of micro schools. Here, through the Black Mothers Forum, actually in Arizona. And here in Dallas, in zip code 75216, where there was a high incarceration rate in the entire state of Texas for adults. Taylor Toynes and Xavier Henderson, former teachers, built something called the Superblock. They created cradle-to-career pipelines, innovation hubs, and they saw the cracks, but they continue to build anyway. So micro schools didn't start in tech blocks. They started under trees. They started in neighborhoods with creativity, care, and community. Today, it may look like a learning pod in a church basement, a teacher-led co-op, or a partnership through a nonprofit like for Oak Cliff. Every version, one thing makes it true. They need great teachers. Great teachers with vision, courage, and the belief that kids deserve better. So that's the whole purpose of the great teacher migration. It is not a crisis, but it is a calling. And we've seen it before. At Ignite, we went from housing communities to college campuses. With Janelle Wood, she just didn't protest, but she built microschools in justice. And through Oak Cliff and for Oak Cliff, showing that when teachers build in community, liberation happens swiftly. And through the legacy of Peak, Bethune, and Laney, who turned scarcity into strategy. Because they didn't wait for permission, they built anyway. There are 3 anchoring truths. 1, education doesn't follow buildings. It follows great teachers. 2, the great teacher migration isn't ending, it is a beginning. 3, if we want equity, we must empower teachers to build with adequate community and support. So here's my question. In a world where some feel inhumanely and emboldened to create these dynamics of dismantling, of alienating, of stripping away opportunities for the next generation, are you bold enough? Are you bold enough to be the champion that our children need? To build when the system says no? To fight for their brilliance? To ensure that every child, no matter their zip code, background, or their identity, they have a chance to rise? Because the future isn't waiting on a broken system. The future is waiting on builders. The future is waiting on us. Thank you.